so funny how we don't talk anymore. It's so funny why we don't talk anymore. But I ain't losing sleep, and I ain't counting sheep.
A very good afternoon to everyone. My name is Ed Nichols, and for some months now we've been bringing to you via the Dunstan Activity Hub a service called Here and Now. And this is a listening service in which, if you need to talk, then we can set up an opportunity for you to do that. Sometimes it's true, isn't it, in life that we get in very low mood. Perhaps we even think, you know, life isn't that good anymore. And perhaps the reason can be that we have things on our heart we need to talk about. It's not so much that we need to get into a discussion, but we just need to talk it up, to say everything that's in our heart and have someone compassionately listen to us. Someone who genuinely wants to understand what we're thinking about, what's on our heart, and therefore this service is to give you an opportunity to talk. It's not a counselling service, it's a listening service. And I want to encourage you, particularly if you're in a low mood or or you kind of feel, well, what's the point of life or whatever, that I would say talk to someone. You can talk to us if you wish on this local service by contacting me, ed.nichols, Nichols, at live.com. That's my email address. You can email me there, and we can then decide how best to talk, whether it's wearing face masks in a counselling session, or whether it's by email, or whether it's by Zoom. And if you prefer just a telephone conversation, you don't have to give your name or address or any details, but you can contact me on 0191 460 4567. If I'm not there, my answer machine will take a message, and you can just leave me a contact number and I'll get straight back to you. But I want to encourage you to understand that sometimes, particularly if you've not been able to talk for some time, perhaps days, months, perhaps even years, how important it is for you to be able to talk and to be listened to. May I say to you that this is not to take away from the excellent services that you can get through your medical centres, or indeed the excellent national helpline, the Samaritans, which will have someone there to listen to you 24/7. But this is an enhancing service. So if we can be of any use to you, please contact us, and remember that if things are on your heart and you just cannot get them off your heart, then basically that can give you difficulties. And I want to encourage you, if you can, even without any of these services, to basically to find someone in your family, to find a compassionate listener there, or your friends, or your workmates, or just somebody, a neighbour, someone you know is a good listener. That's what you need, a good listener, a compassionate listener. And so I encourage you to do that. And today I'd like to speak to you about how, as a community, we can really help each other to live a really good quality existence. And first of all, I'd like you just to look at this graphic here, which explains to us basically that to have a good quality of life, we need to be in a community. But within the community, what makes community work is relationships. A good life, a good community life, a good personal life, it's all about relationships. And I want to encourage you to understand that's what we need to give our attention to. Do you know, sometimes I think we seem to have everything materially, but we've just lost our way in the way of community and in the importance of community relationships. And so I want to encourage you to think about that today. Look at this next graphic. This reminds us very simply of this fact that what is community about? It's about you, it's about me, and it's about us together. Community is a together thing. A together thing in which we learn to relate to one another in good and satisfying ways. And so I want to encourage you just to think upon that. Would you look at this next graphic now? Being together in a community brings real satisfaction and happiness to us, but only when we see that each of us has a part in building relationships. In other words, it's not for somebody else to build relationships, it's for me to do it. It's for them to do it, but it's also for me. And you have an important part in building relationships in a community that make that community life satisfying. I want to encourage you to really think upon that. And to build community relationships, you and I need to just take for granted some good community values, some good values that have been around for centuries. And sometimes we've forgotten them. So have a look at this next graphic to remind us. Things like respect, mutual respect. Why should we respect each other? Simply because we're human beings. We're alive. We're sharing the same space in our nation. Acceptance. You don't have to pass any exams to be accepted in a good community. You're accepted because you're part of it. You are respected and you're accepted. And I want to encourage us all to accept one another. We don't accept people because they're our type of person. They're the kind of people that, you know, that we massively identify with. Hopefully there will be those people that we do massively identify with, but we accept everyone, whether we massively identify with them or not. Acceptance is important. Trust. So much makes us untrustful, mistrustful of each other, doesn't it? A lot of the things on the news, you know, they encourage us to be suspicious of each other. Do you know, that kind of suspicion is the death knell of community life. We must be wise, but we mustn't be suspicious of each other. Because although there are bad things that happen in life, they don't happen on such a scale that we need to be suspicious of each other. We can be careful and wise without being suspicious. And I want to encourage us to trust each other. To trust. And to realize that a lot of people, though they're not perfect, though none of us are perfect, we can be trusted. That people can be trusted. That they're not out to get us. They're not necessarily against us, but for us. And therefore we can give them the benefit of the doubt and trust them. Trust is important. Patience is important. Be patient with people. People are not always the way we want them to be. When we relate to people, sometimes, you know, they're not exactly the kind of person that we find it easy to relate to. But you see, we grow and develop as human beings as we learn patience with each other. To be patient with each other. Not to be in a hurry all the time. To slow down and to be patient with one another. And caring. Caring's a simple thing, isn't it? You know, oh, caring. But caring is what good relationships are about. It's about what good community life is about. So let's care for each other. Why? Simply because we share the same space in our nation, the same area. Because we're human beings who share the same needs. And each of us needs to be cared about and cared for. So let caring be one of our community values. Laughter is good, isn't it? Laughter's a good one. It's good to share humour with each other, and by that what I mean is make sure that the humour is acceptable to the person who's who you're hoping to have a laugh with. You know, if you tell somebody a dirty joke and they really don't like dirty jokes, you see, you might be enjoying the laughter, but they're not. So we need to have boundaries, don't we? That the boundaries, you know, that govern things like how we express our humour and what we laugh about, the boundaries are basically a respect for other people, to try to discern what it is that they would like and that they wouldn't like, and then to, you know, to modify our humour and our laughter about such things. But laughter is important, and so are boundaries. And I want to encourage you to see that obviously appreciation is important, that we appreciate one another. Again, not for any great reason other than this, that we are human beings sharing the same geographical space in our nation, and we all have the same needs. And I just would say to you, just a final thing, communication. I think on that whole list there, the biggest word is communication. Communication. Being able to communicate one with another, to share life one with another. So important for you and for I. Let's look at this next graphic now together. Communication, again, it's a simple thing, but at the heart of a satisfied life, a happy life, is communication. And I look at this little cartoon, isn't it really, where you've got a man and a woman, and he's speaking to her and she's smiling, so the words are obviously good. It's good communication. And we need to do that, don't we? We need to communicate in a way that encourages, that puts a smile on each other's face. We never know, do we, when we meet someone, what they're going through. I don't know about you, I've been relating to people recently who've just lost a loved one. You may not know when you meet a person that they've just lost a loved one, but if you communicate in a way that is kind and caring and considerate and respectful, that accepts a person, then you can indeed encourage them, comfort them, and put a smile on their face. Communication is about speaking and listening. It's about probably listening more than we speak. But that we all have an opportunity to get off our chest what we need to. I don't mean we can just talk about, you know, any old thing we want. You know, if I'm into a particular hobby and I just feel I just want to tell somebody all about it for 3 hours, you know, obviously that's not what we're talking about. But there are things we need to talk about that are important. And it would be nice too if we could find someone who shares our hobby or whatever, our interest, and share with them. But basically the things you really need as a human being to talk about, they are the things that you really need to communicate. Speaking and listening. Look at this next graphic now. If you look here, I suppose if you multiply that by a few thousand people all standing there with empty speech bubbles above their head, this would be a very poor community, wouldn't it? It would be a community in which there isn't any communication. So what is your job and my job? Well, your job and my job is to fill the speech bubbles with words. Good words, accepting words, kind words, words that lift people up. That's our job, to build community and build relationships. And as we build together, you will find that you and I, you yourself and me myself, we will be happier for it. So if you feel, oh, I'm lonely, I'm isolated, no one talks, you know, I'd like to be able to talk, you know, then start building those things by by doing something yourself, by reaching out to people, lifting the telephone up, sending an email, sending a text, sending a card, whatever, you know, let you and I put the words in these speech bubbles. And if you can imagine words there, your words there, and the words of encouraging people there, you'll see that this diagram then would become a sign of a very good community. A community in which the quality of life is really good because the quality of communication is very good. I think that we all need to learn things that are essential to our humanity. Things that are so important that actually we're not that bothered about them. But we really need to be bothered, to care. To be bothered about something is to care. So let's look at this final graphic where it shows us some principles of effective communication, of good communication, of communication that you and I both need, in which listening and speaking take place. And this little photograph actually says effective communication requires more than an exchange of information. It isn't just an exchange of information, throwing words at each other. When done right, communication fosters understanding. Understand, isn't it great to feel somebody understands us? It's really, if you feel nobody understands you, that's awful, isn't it? When you think, oh, nobody understands me. Often we can feel like that, but when we have good communication, we feel that this person understands us. We understand them by listening, and they, by being listened to, feel that they're understood. When done right, communication strengthens relationships. We've been talking a lot about relationships today. We want good quality relationships. I don't want to be standing around with people who tell me about the good old days when community life was so much better than it is now. I can't do anything about that. But I can do something about today's community by doing something today. And so as we look at these ways of communication, so it is, they strengthen relationships, where our relationships improve, and as our relationships improve, the quality of our life improves. It improves teamwork. Teamwork, I think, you know, it's not so much joining, you know, a football or netball club. It's about, although you may want to, it's about doing things together. Do you ever feel as a community, isn't it easy for us to say, oh, the council this, the council that, the council the other. But what about, you know, just a little bit of community togetherness in tidying things up? I think it's true to say that our council, like most councils, are cash strapped. It's not as though they've got money just to throw around. So have we forgotten that in a good community, everything is not the responsibility of the council, but the responsibility of we who are part of the community to tidy something up. Perhaps to put a lick of paint on. We'd need to contact them, I think, the council, to okay all these things. But what I'm trying to say to you is, good communication is the beginning of doing things together. And doing things together is a great way of enhancing life. You can have a laugh, can't you, when you do things together. If you do it by yourself and things go wrong, you know, you think, oh, it's the end of the world. But when you're with somebody else and something goes wrong, then at least somebody will find something funny about it. It's good. And communication builds trust. And I want to say to you that though we need to be wise and wary about life and take account of what human beings can do that isn't good, we should also ensure that we know that the vast majority of people are pretty trustworthy. And so good communication builds trust. It builds trust. I want to encourage us all to see how important these things are And at the heart of them all is this communication, this simple and wonderful art of listening to each other and being able to speak what is in our heart. Thank you for your time. May we all prosper in these things. I don't know about you, but I'm learning things. I've got my L plates on. I'm learning all this stuff. I hope you are too. Thank you for your time.